Time now for Night Court. Increasing tensions between federal employees and President Trump. And Air Traffic Controllers Union is just the latest group today to sue the Trump administration over the partial government shutdown. Air traffic controllers are deemed essential workers, which means they are expected to show up without pay, though they eventually will be repaid. The lawsuit filed today alleges the government is unlawfully depriving thousands of its members of pay without due process. Let's take it to tonight's Legal Eagles. Remember, you are the jury. These guys will debate. Family law and defense attorney Sharon Lyko and attorney Bryan Rotella. Thank you both for being here with us tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, I want to read from the lawsuit filed today. America wants its air traffic controllers to be laser focused on landing planes safely and monitoring America's runways, not distracted by financial issues and anxiety of financial instability. Bryan, they say they already have super stressful jobs. The government's only making it worse and depriving them constitutionally of their pay.
Yeah, so Shannon, look, I had a law professor who used to tell me this. There's two things. There are lawsuits and then there's damages. They don't always meet. Here, there's a lawsuit. I think everybody agrees we got to keep these air traffic controllers working. They're going to be working, and guess what? If this thing takes 100 days, these folks are going to get paid. We have precedent for this. It happened back in 2013. And during the Obama administration, there was a shutdown, and folks got paid afterwards. The difference between what happened then and why I think I would represent the government here and say they're going to be okay is to do this and not violate the law. You got to have a good reason. Well, the good reason is government shut down because the president was elected about the border. He's holding hard on the line on the border, and ultimately, I think that's going to carry the day here. It's going to be said that he had a good reason and a good cause to shut the government down, and these folks are going to get paid, and they aren't going to really have damages.
Yeah, this isn't the first time that we've gone through this. Sharon, I've taken 5 flights in the last 48 hours, so I've talked to some TSA folks and a lot of people in the airports about how they're doing. They're worried, but most of them say on the TSA side, we're going to show up. But this is now a third union that's going after the president. It's interesting because they named Mick Mulvaney, who's the head of the budget operation. He's also the acting White House chief of staff. But there are those out there saying, why aren't you suing Democratic leadership instead of the administration? What do you make of that?
I don't know why you'd sue the Democratic leadership. You need to sue the Republicans. You need to bring an action in the court, which they've done, against the United States. The people, the air traffic controllers, TSA, so many of these federal agencies, they have a right to be paid. There's something called the Fair Labor Standards Act, which applies to most of these workers. And even the government isn't allowed to violate that. You've got to pay people at least the minimum wage and by a certain date. And if they don't, then there's penalties and there's damages. These people are not the rich and famous. How can they afford to work without getting paid? They've got families to raise, they've got diapers to buy, they've got educations to pay for, and they're supposed to be focused on especially air traffic controllers, focused on the safety of flights when they're worried about paying their bills? No, and this is no national emergency. The national emergency is feeding Trump's ego to make sure that his conservative base is satisfied that he's fulfilling a campaign promise.
All
and
right,
it doesn't matter if the little people suffer.
Okay, so Bryan feels confident, you feel confident. We'll see what happens. There are at least 3 of these lawsuits out there now, but I quickly, because we have a rocket docket tonight, want to get you to both weigh in on this issue going along, happening during along the Texas border. There are a number of landowners there who say that they have received notices that people want to come out from the government and survey their land, potentially to take it. I mean, there are steps there if you do eminent domain, but in order to build the wall or some kind of barriers or put something in place, we don't have a lot of time, but Sharon, I'll start with you, and then Bryan, you close us out.
Okay. Texans are cowboys, and cowboys fight. So these Texans are not going to roll over. The government is going to have to file lawsuits in the court to condemn these properties, to take these properties by virtue of eminent domain. They're going to have to convince the courts that in the interest of national security, they have a right to these people's land. Again, national security, this is not an emergency. To build some wall, I think that the government has an uphill battle. This can take years. There are some cases that are still pending in the courts that started a decade ago with George W. Bush.
A different president. All right, Bryan, quickly, your final word.
Yeah, real quick here is eminent domain. Government really has this authority. They always have this authority. What's going to come down to is the reasonableness of what the government does and the value. We have a real estate titan as a president. I can't wait, Shannon. I think he'd be the best expert witness for an eminent domain case ever.
Yeah, he's going to be very familiar with it based on all of his experiences out there.
God help us.
Listen, there are a lot of people who would like to get him into court to testify under oath about a lot of things. We'll see where these cases go. Sharon and Bryan, thank you both for lending us your expertise tonight. And folks at home, you are the jury. Let us know what you think in these two cases at Shannon Bream or at Fox News Night.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Shannon.